With the recent news of Amazon's New World being delayed until 2021 and many hungry MMO fans being disappointed by this news, I decided that today I want to talk about the upcoming MMORPG that I personally believe to be the most promising, Ashes of Creation. Before we jump into it though, this video has no sponsor and took me a crazy amount of time to make, both with research, fact-checking and editing, so if you'd like to support my work for free, this game has an affiliate program that everyone who makes an account has access to. My link to this can be found in the description below.
Trust
me,
and all
this game looks fucking mental. Before September, receive a small in-game statue for your house to commemorate our struggles through COVID-19. So for those of you that have never heard of the game before, what is Ashes of Creation? Ashes of Creation is a Western-made sandpark MMORPG that's focused on a strong mix of both PvP and PvE content. This game was initially kickstarted 3 years ago, but was already fully funded to completion via private investment from the game's creative director, Stephen Sharif. Unlike many of the Eastern MMOs that have had Western releases over the past few years, Ashes of Creation has consistently said from day one that there will be no pay to win in this game. Due to this, the game will operate with a no box cost subscription fee business model with a cosmetic only cash shop. The thing that makes Ashes of Creation the MMORPG that I'm personally the most excited for is the sheer scope of the project. This game seems to be combining all the best aspects from all the top MMOs over the past 10 years. And
yeah, I suppose what you're saying though, Mike, is it was probably to get is there an appetite for it? You know, you want to like basically throw the, you know, cast your line out, see if there's enough appetite for it. If you get a few people, then you're like, oh, actually, I'll fund it. But he was going to fund it anyway. Trust me, I've heard this guy. He's a nice guy. He knows what he's talking about as well. He's played all the MMOs I have. He's literally living my dream, which I fucking hate him for.
Combining it into one game, with all of that being tied together by the game's most unique feature, its node system. Throughout the world in Ashes of Creation, there's points of interest on the map called nodes. These nodes are basically areas that can progress to different stages of civilizational development as players kill monsters, quest, gather, and adventure within that node's area of influence. Starting out day one when the game first launches, the world will be pretty empty, but let's say you and a group of friends all decide to kill mobs and gather in a certain area. Over time you'll be contributing XP to that area's node, and an expedition will appear with quests. As more players are drawn to that area, it will level up into an encampment with more quests, more NPCs, and more opportunity. After that, the node levels up into a village, town, city, and finally a giant sprawling metropolis with more opportunity, world events, and quests appear.
Hang on.
That area.
Sorry, hang on. Let's just take that back.
And gather in a certain area. Over time, you'll be contributing XP to that area.
I need to look at that chart that he's just put on.
Expedition will appear with quests. As more players are drawn to that area, it will level up into an encampment with more quests, more NPCs, and more opportunity.
Right, so it starts as wilderness, so it's nothing. Expedition, crossroads, time frame to advance, few hours, many hours.
After that.
Why is it not just show me full screen and just move that out of the way? The village, few days, few weeks, many weeks to become a metropolis. I mean, that's a bit vague. But a few hours. So it'll be a few hours to become an expedition, many hours to become an encampment. So many hours is going to be less than 24, obviously. And then a few days, we're talking 72 hours for it to become a village. Because there's always a meta, isn't there? Let's face it. So even with this node system, it's not going to be known straight away, but eventually people will know where, like, what is the best route of progression. Like, I've watched this before, so we'll carry on playing it, but there will become a meta, and that will become clearer soon, hopefully.
That the node levels up into a village, town, city, and finally a giant sprawling metropolis with more opportunity, world events, and quests appearing at each stage of development. Now that's a very simplified explanation of the Ashes of Creation node system, but on top of that there's also a lot of variables within this system. For example, at launch there will be 103 different possible node locations, and the location of that node dictates the quests and world events triggered upon development. At this point you're probably thinking, well, what happens when every node reaches its final stage? Wouldn't that become boring? Well, due to how the system's designed, this isn't possible. In leveling up one node, you lock out the possibility for adjacent nodes to grow to the same size. To change this and de-level a node so that adjacent nodes can progress, players will need to participate in a PvP node siege to destroy a city, for example, so the town node near to it has room to grow and different content can then be unlocked. The way this system is designed intends for long-term player-driven replayability, where each server will have a different history of development and unlocked content. No two servers will be the same, an MMORPG with a true ever-changing world. When it comes to node aesthetics, there will also be a lot of diversity here too, as the node will take on the architectural appearance of the race that contributed the most XP to its development. So let's say a guild of orcs went to an area and contributed the most XP to a node, building it up to a town. You've then got a town with an orcish aesthetic.
The thing I'm
maybe a guild of dwarves wanted
concerned
to explore a
about
node in the mountains. They could eventually have their own dwarven city in the mountains. The aesthetic of the node changes at every...
So I like that. I like that idea. Alright, I like the idea. Like, I don't like the way it was explained, but I like the idea. You know, but let's say loads of dwarves wanted to go... Like, when does that happen? Like, in any MMO you've ever played, when is it like looking for more dwarves to go and do quests? Or looking for more humans to go and do quests? You know, it's really... what these cities look like is going to completely depend on if there's going to be racials. So are the characters going to have racials? So is, like, as a human got a fucking get out of stun free card? As a dwarf got stone form? Like, is there any reason to encourage people to play one race more than the other? Or is it purely aesthetic? Because that's what's going to dictate what the towns look like, not people all of a sudden getting together and going, oh, let's make this big town look like Stormwind. You know, that's not what they're going to do. It's going to be... and people are not even going to... It's an MMO, but who the fuck, when a game launches, who actually groups up? Like, no one's going to group up. It's actually going to come down to... No, it's not leader's choice. No, it's like... So if let's say Goldshire was a node, we'll use Goldshire as an example, that was a node, but all the factions spawned around it, or spawned wherever, whatever, whoever does the most quests out of all the races, do the most quests in Goldshire will either look human, orc, troll, gnome, whatever. So I think this is more luck or random. You know, it's not... You're not going to be able to force cities to look like your race just because you've done the most quests there, because there's going to be fucking thousands of people. This is going to get a lot of hype, and there's going to be a lot of people playing it. I like it. I like that aspect of it being of like no two servers looking the same. But at the same time, that is just novel. It's not really adding to the gameplay, is it? Because there will, as I say, there will become a meta. There will be like, if we turn it into a banking district or an economical city or whatever the wording is for it, we'll find out soon. If that gives better XP for people to level quicker, everybody's going to be trying to turn it into that type of city, because that's what we do. You know, we know this is going to be the quickest way. If there was I don't know, some sort of diplomatic city where it's not actually really giving us much benefit as players, we'll never see one. So it's nice to have the sort of variety, but ultimately they're all going to be the same, because it's going to be whatever's best for the people who are playing on the server. But anyway.
Every level of development based on the race that contributes the most XP to the node. On top of all this, each node in the world will be assigned one of 4 possible node types, with each having unique benefits. You've got divine, economic, militaristic, and scientific node types. Advancing a scientific node over an economic node, for example, will give different building options for players to manage in the node, such as libraries, colleges, and artisan buildings, whereas if they leveled up an economic node, they could build markets, markets, stock exchanges, and trade-focused buildings. Each node upon hitting the village stage of development will have a 1-week cooldown before node elections begin. In this, players can try to become the mayor of the node. As a mayor, you get to allocate resources, set the tax rate, and initiate quests.
Why is that character so small?
To advance the node, as well as choose building projects contained within that node.
I mean, that's not a dwarf and it's not a gnome. That's something in between. I'm not sure what that is, but anyway.
The way the mayoral election system is designed is different for each node.
I can't look at him without laughing.
For scientific nodes, it's a popularity contest where you vote another player in. For economic nodes, it goes to the highest bidder. For divine nodes, the player with the most node-related service quests completed will become the mayor, and militaristic node mayors will be decided via a last-man-standing battle royale type minigame where players interface through a champion rather than their own character. Obviously, bad mayors will be a thing that exists in this game, so every month the election process will happen again so that other players have the chance to challenge for mayor. Other than its node system, Ashes of Creation is also aiming to have a diverse range of content to appeal to pretty much every type of MMORPG player. Let's start with some of the PvP content that will be present in this game. PvP content in Ashes consists of open world flagging, caravan PvP.
Right, just really quickly for anyone who don't know, obviously I've been looking into this game over the last couple of days. They've actually got like a battle royale type thing. So what it sounds like how you become mayor, if you want to become mayor, and have the big battle royale thing. There's something like that you can go online now and more or less sign up for and start playing. So you can see what their PvP is like. I haven't done it yet, but I will be doing it. Just thought I'd let you know.
Duels, battlegrounds, castle sieges, node sieges, arenas, and guild wars. But before all of you PvE players get scared off at the thought of open world PvP, you'll be happy to know that this game has anti-grief mechanics in the form of its corruption system. When it comes to corruption, players have 3 states: green, non-combatant; purple, combatant; red, corrupted. I've displayed an image on screen that shows how this system works, but from the point of view of a non-combatant PvE player minding their own business, if another player comes up to you and kills you, they will become corrupted and receive ever-growing penalties the more innocent players they decide to kill. Eventually, corrupted players can drop their items which can be looted by other players, they'll also lose more experience upon death, and also feel dampening in PvP so they become weaker. Corruption gained is also greater based on the level disparity, so a high level randomly killing a new low level player really isn't worth it. Additionally, the game will have a bounty system where players with high corruption score will appear on the map for bounty hunters to track down and kill for rewards, and NPC guards will also attack corrupted players on site, limiting their access to services within nodes. The caravan PvP system in Ashes.
Now that is actually quite good. You know, it's a good way to sort of balance a PvP server where when you're running around trying to level, you don't feel... well, like, I'll use my own brother as an example. He don't want to play on PvP servers because he don't like dying. Probably don't play on a PvP server then. But let's say you do want to play on a PvP server so you can PvP when you choose to. I mean, at least that is trying... It's attempting to balance it. I wouldn't say it's balancing it in the right way, personally. I like the idea of you killing low people and then you're getting corrupted, so then you're going to be weaker and you can drop gear. But I actually don't like the dropping gear part at all, actually. Because what if you want to get corrupted for fun? You know, like I would find that fun. Go around and get corrupted so you can't get in cities and you're getting bounties on you. You know, that's fun. But it's not fun if all of a sudden you start losing gear that you've spent 6 months to try and get. You know, but the rest of it is fun. So that bit I'm not a big fan of. It's very similar to anybody who plays Star Wars Galaxies. You know I talk about this a lot on stream. It's quite similar to that, as in when you're a Jedi, you show your lightsaber, you get on the bounty terminals, the bounty hunters come after you, you lose XP. Losing XP, yeah. If you lost your lightsaber, you'd be like, no, fuck you, Sith. Or maybe light side or something, I don't know. But
Ashes is designed to bring risk versus reward gameplay. Due to storage being localized to each node and different areas of the map having easier or harder access to certain resources, players will need to transport goods between nodes via caravans. When a caravan is spawned, it will create a moving open world PvP zone. When players approach the caravan, they'll be given 3 options: attack, defend, or ignore. Caravans can transport goods from more than one player at a time, and I can imagine this system alone will bring about the existence of mercenary guilds who attack caravans or defend them when paid by other players. Castle Sieges will be a monthly event in which guilds can fight in a 250 vs 250 battle to take control of one of the 5 castles in the world. Node sieges are different to castle
500 player battles, 250 v 250.
Castle sieges and are the catalyst for change in the world.
No.
Node sieges can last up to 2 hours. If a node is successfully defended, it can't be attacked for a certain period of time in relation to the level of that node. A village, for example, can't be attacked for another 20 days, whilst a metropolis cannot be attacked for 50 days if successfully defended. Additionally, once a node siege is declared, there's a period of time where many services in the node are shut down in preparation for war. For a village siege, there's 2 days notice, and for Metropolis, there's 5 days notice. These node sieges can only be declared within a certain period of the server's prime time to give everyone a chance to attend. If a node siege is successful, the node is reset to 0, and players with resources stored in that node will lose some of those resources, and real space player housing will also be destroyed. Guild wars are another separate PvP system in Ashes of Creation, which basically allows guilds to declare war on each other and receive certain objectives to meet a victory condition. This system isn't fully fleshed out as of making this video, but it seems like a more in-depth version of what Black Desert Online currently has, with objective-based components mixed into it too. Guilds can be at war against multiple other guilds at the same time, and guild wars operate outside of the game's corruption PvP flagging system. I think duels, battlegrounds and arenas are fairly...
I mean, like, this is ticking a lot of boxes for me. As in, it is ticking a lot of boxes. I know it's got player housing. I don't even know if it gets mentioned in this video, but I know there's proper player housing from what I've been looking into. And as I say, I think I've seen up to about here before. I've not got any further than this before because I got bored. But it ticks a lot of boxes. There's certain things I like in an MMO that I don't get from WoW. The thing I get from WoW that I don't get from any other MMO is the combat. And I think, look, if we just go back literally like 20 seconds, watch this combat, this is the bit that I would be a little bit skeptical about.
The guilds at the same time, and guild wars operate outside of the game's corruption PvP flagging system. I think duels, battlegrounds and arenas are fairly
clunky. It doesn't look...
that Ashes of Creation will have that we all like to see in MMOs, but overall when it comes to the PvP...
It looked very Elder Scrolls Online.
It sounds like everything I've ever wanted in an MMO, from the risk versus reward of the caravan system, to node sieges being the catalyst for change in the world, to the prestige of your guild owning one of the 5 castles on the server. It seems like this game has PvP content for everyone from casual to hardcore and everything in between.
PvE, here we go, boys.
Play a massive role in Ashes of Creation and features content in the form of quests, open world dungeons, instanced dungeons, open world raids, instanced raids, world bosses and monster coin events, as well as all the activities related to the growth of nodes. PvE dungeon and raid content in Ashes will be designed for group sizes of 8, 16 and 40 players. This game will feature a mix of both open world dungeons and raids.
Right, can we get to the reason why this guy's backpedaling first? I think we need to let's address that first. Why has he only just learned how to use a keyboard? So if we just go back, let's just try and work out why he's only just been able to use his character.
Raid content in Ashes will be designed for group sizes of 8,
Watch him,
16 and 40 players. This game will feature a mix of both open world dungeons
He's definitely
and raids,
using his
as well as
spellbook to cast.
dungeons and raids, with 80% of them being open world
What's he doing?
and 20% of them being instanced. There will be no
he's not
group finder
pressing
in this
anything.
game, so you'll need to join guilds and find party members via social interaction if you want to partake in a lot of PvE content. The way open world dungeons and raids will work is that they increase in difficulty the deeper you venture inside. At the entrance you might be fighting weaker, lower level mobs with fewer mechanics, but as you get deeper into the dungeon you'll fight tougher enemies with more mechanics and better loot. Additionally, something you need to bear in mind is that all of the PvE content that's available in Ashes depends on the location of the nodes that the community decides to develop. One server may have access to completely different raids and dungeons to another server, purely because their nodes developed differently in different locations.
Now that's fucking
unlike
cool.
Other MMORPGs, the endgame PvE content really isn't a linear progression. It can't be a linear progression because different raids and dungeons will be locked or unlocked depending on where nodes are developed and what stage they're at. So in a way, it could also be in a PvE player's best interest to participate in a PvP node siege to reset the node that unlocks a certain...
But then again, so that is cool. Like, I'm always going to be pessimistic. As in, for anything. For a game, I've been pessimistic all day. That's probably why I'm in a fucking foul mood. Because all I've had to do today at work is look at other people's work and tell them why it's shit. So when I watch this, like, I'm excited inside. I want it to be the WoW killer. I want it to be the next best thing. Because everything sounds fantastic. But once again... every server's PvE is going to be different. No, it won't. It might be for the first 2 to 3 months until everyone realises this node gives the best loot because this boss drops this loot. You know, unless that's completely randomised, which then makes the whole system pointless because it doesn't matter whether you unlock, you know, node A or node B. Both nodes will have a different boss, but they both drop the same loot. Now all it is aesthetics, and it don't matter anyway. But we will learn very, very quickly because we've got forums, we've got Discord, we've got everything else. So it'll be like, right, this node drops this fucking amazing two-handed weapon. Everybody's going to want it. So now everyone's going to be spamming into that place to get it open, you know, to then be able to do it. That's just my opinion, but I would say that's the direction it would probably turn fairly fast.
And raid, so that another node can then be developed which unlocks a different raid. A fun, unique piece of PvE content that I think a lot of people will enjoy in Ashes is its monster coin system. This is an event that either spawns randomly or following the advancement of a node, in which a horde of NPC monsters will spawn and attack the node. During this time, players can use an item called a monster coin, which they can receive as a rare drop.
Hang on, let me just catch up on chat. So, it takes weeks to get Metropolis quests and legendary bosses. Yeah, I think it said Metropolis was multiple weeks. And 100+ nodes. How many servers are there going to be? I suppose that's what it's going to come down to. You know, if there was... let's say there was 30 servers. I don't want to go over the top. I think 30 might be realistic. At launch, I mean, how long is it going to take before you start to realise this? A few months? Again, I would probably go as far as a few months across all the servers. None of these things take long to find out nowadays. Is it even data miner? You know, could you data mine it? I don't know. 50 days on average to level cap. Oh, really? I don't know how long it's going to take to level cap. Yeah, and Drov, yeah, I agree with the whole if you're forcing people to PvP. Yeah, that's the... I don't think you are being forced to PvP as such. I'd like to see where the 50 days to level cap has come from. Cutie, personally. I don't know how anyone could know that at this stage, but if that has been announced somewhere, then... that's a long-ass time.
in-game to turn into a monster and assist the NPCs in attacking the node against other players. During a monster coin event, the node can't be destroyed, but buildings, services and NPCs can be disabled for a period of time. Quests in Ashes of Creation are divided up into 3 categories: events, tasks, and narrative quests. Events are things that happen in Ashes as a result of the development of the world. Successfully completing an event will have positive consequences such as buffs, and failing events will have negative consequences such as natural disasters or node services being unavailable.
Natural disasters? Get a fucking earthquake. I wonder if you get an earthquake and it literally fucks a city up that you've been, you know, like a node that you've been contributing to for weeks, and then you get a natural disaster and then it starts, like, rolls back. And not COVID-19. Don't be distasteful. But yeah, I mean, possibly.
Available for a period of time. Tasks are quests without excessive amounts of text and story around them, such as collect X resources to help build a blacksmith for the node. And narrative quests are more traditional story quests that can be personal to your class, race, or the region of the world you're in, with some of these story arcs being locked behind further development of the nodes.
Don't like cartoon characters. Neither
play Raid Shadow Legends.
High poly models with stunning detail.
Yeah, I've just looked at that, but it does say 4 to 6 hours a day. I mean, come on, the typical WoW player nowadays plays for 12, don't they? Realistically, 12 hours a day is not even. That's casual. 12 hours a day is casual. If I play less than 12 hours a day and I work probably 10 hours a day, I consider myself casual.
If I was a role player, Ashes of Creation is without a doubt the MMORPG I'd be looking forward to.
I agree, Rob.
This game's being designed with so many great RP features to really add that extra level of immersion. First, let's talk about the extensive player housing
This is what
system.
I want.
This game will have 3 types of player housing: instanced apartments, real space open world freeholds, and static housing within nodes. Each of these 3 types of player housing become available once a node reaches village stage or higher. Instanced apartments will become available in a node if a mayor decides to construct apartment buildings within an empty plot. These will work similar to the housing system in BDO, where you approach an apartment door and you've got a list of options for whose apartment you want to visit. Static housing within nodes are real space player housing that players can buy that will be visible to everyone. You'll be able to decorate the front of your house with yard ornaments, seamlessly enter and exit, and see your house grow from a small cottage to a mansion as the node levels up. Freeholds are large real space player housing plots that can be situated within the zone of influence of a node, but not actually inside the node. Think of static housing as buying a townhouse that grows in size over time with the node, but freeholds as owning a set size plot of land in the countryside. Freeholds are roughly half an acre in size, and due to limited space in the world, players can only own one of these per account, whereas apartments and in-node housing are limited to 1 per server. There's many buildings you'll be able to place on your freehold, such as a blacksmith, stables, and other stuff related to crafting, roleplaying, and other life skill related content players might want to partake in. Each of these 3 forms of player housing will allow players to decorate them with furniture, some of which is functional, others just cosmetic, and when a node's destroyed, players will lose their housing. However, a template will be mailed to them so they can quickly load the layout of their housing hassle-free when they eventually find a new home. As with every good roleplay MMO, Ashes of Creation will feature a wide range of races. Currently the game is planning on 9 playable races for launch, each of which have different cultures, which will be reflected in the appearance of nodes that they contribute to the most. You've got 2 different variations of humans, dwarves, elves, orcs, and a race called the Tulnar which live underground. Different races will have different racial abilities, and each race will have different base stats. However, there will be no gender lock for any of the races, and every race can play as every class. Other nice RP features the game will have include an extensive emote system with interactable furniture.
You need that.
The ability to lean against scenery, sit on benches, and dance with other players.
Definitely
You'll be
need
able
that.
to play parlor games with other players inside of taverns, some being dice games, others involving cards. You'll be able to join different types of social organizations in the game, such as the Scholars Academy, Thieves Guild, or Traders Company. And there'll also be a marriage mechanic in the game that may unlock special quests
Marry me, Mike.
functionality with player housing. Overall, from a roleplay perspective, it seems as though there's going to be more than enough choices and customization in Ashes of Creation that each player's journey in this game will be completely unique, and it will also have all the immersive social elements that can help bring people together in an MMO. Professions and life skills in Ashes of Creation are referred to as artisan classes. These are split into 3 different trees: gathering, processing, and crafting. Gathering professions consist of fishing, herbalism, lumberjacking, mining, and
sorry, I don't want to keep stopping it. I mean, like, I fucking love it. Don't get me wrong. Like, I seriously, the housing system, the reason I've all of a sudden sat crouched over, it's not because I'm going to shit my pants. Partly that's why. It's because I'm just that excited and I haven't got a cushion. But I love the look of the housing system. I'm just not convinced by the graphics. I think it looks... It's a 2020 MMO, and to me, it just looks a little bit dated straight away. But the content looks amazing, like absolutely amazing, but I just think this could be old sort of footage. You know, it might look amazing when it comes out, but none of it looks thrilling. You know, I've played Elder Scrolls Online, like you say, Skyrim, and all these other games, and actually graphically, I'm not like, oh, wow. Because, you know, if you're going to have 250 v 250 in PvP, then, yeah, I mean, that would be comfortable if you was playing Roblox or something, which, I mean, this is not... It doesn't look far off. But it's not all about graphics. You know, it is playability.
Animal taming. Processing professions basically refine raw material via the use of certain freehold buildings, such as forges to process ore into bars, lumberyards processing logs to planks, and so on. Crafting professions consist of alchemy, armor smithing, blacksmithing, carpentry, cooking, jewel crafting, scribing, shipbuilding, siege weapon building, and weaponsmithing.
Looks quite similar to a game we play at the moment. Shipbuilding on the seas, boy. Sea of Thieves.
In this game, each character will only be able to truly master one profession. You'll be unable to master multiple. You'll still be able to progress with multiple professions, but not to the extent of mastery. This is to create the need for community interaction and create a sense of identity. Crafting in Ashes of Creation is also being designed so that it won't become irrelevant like in other MMOs. Crafted gear will be on par with the highest tier drops from raid bosses, and due to being limited to mastery of only one artisan class, guilds will have to organise multiple people to meet their crafting and gathering needs to initiate sieges, complete projects, and contribute to the node. Personally, the profession I'm most excited for is animal husbandry, as you'll be able to breed different animals together
Is that marrying animals?
to create some really weird and wonderful mounts. The class system in Ashes of Creation is quite interesting and leads to a lot of variety. First, you'll start out by picking a primary class archetype between Bard, Cleric, Fighter, Mage, Ranger, Rogue, Summoner.
Bard, Cleric, Fighter, Mage, Ranger, Rogue, Summoner, Tank.
And tank. Eventually, as you progress with your primary class, you'll get to choose a secondary class out of the same 8 options I previously mentioned. So choosing to be a mage, then fighter for example, would give you the overall class
There's
of
no
battle
Druid.
mage. With this system, there's a possibility of 64 different class combinations which are displayed on screen.
64 class combinations. Where's the Druid in there? So tank bard, a tank cleric, a tank fighter, a tank... I mean, that is quite cool. I mean, that's a lot of shit, isn't it? Tank. I just want to be a tank. Well, you'll be a guardian then. Yeah, if you want to be a tank. I mean, I like that. I mean, that's some serious. Yeah, I don't even know where to start. There's no druid. That's where I'm going to start. Is there anything that even relates closely to a druid? No.
Now, Ashes of Creation will be designed around the Trinity system of tank, healer and DPS. You will not be able to change your class's primary role, however with some effort you will be able to change your secondary role.
Yeah,
Weapons
Leaper.
and armor will not be class locked, but some classes will obviously be more efficient with certain types of armor and weapons. And when it comes to the game's combat system, it will use a tab target action combat hybrid system. The way this system will work is that each class will have two categories of skills: tab target skills and action combat style skills. Players can choose to have up to 75% of either tab targeting abilities or 75% action combat abilities, but not 100% either way. Personally, the way I'd imagine this system will play out will be something close to Guild Wars 2 or Arcade. However, the action combat side of this combat system is still in development as of making this video, so it's hard to say how the complete system will actually feel. When starting out in Ashes of Creation, you'll first make your character, choose your primary class, then you'll be given the choice to spawn at one of 4 divine gateways in the world. Each race does have their own starter zone and starter quests, but they won't be super mandatory to do, more of a recommendation. There's nothing stopping you as an elf spawning in the dwarven starting area to level with your friend. The world size in Ashes is planned to be truly massive, approximately 480 square kilometers in size.
What does that mean? What does 480 kilometers in game? What does that physically mean? I don't know. Big? Couldn't we have just said it's fucking massive? Been a bit clearer.
Including both water and land content, as well as a diverse range of biomes.
Went to Scottejaye,
yeah. Swamps, plains, forests, snowy mountains,
2 times classic
islands,
WoW,
and everything in between. This game will be fully open world and also features underground zones known as the Underrealm. Ashes of Creation will feature an in-game viewable world map, however starting out much of it will be covered in a fog of war until areas have been explored and uncovered. Additionally, there will be some zones in the world that will experience all 4 seasons, which will bring about their own events, buffs, debuffs and farming challenges. Seasons will rotate once each week, with a full 4-season rotation passing by every 4 weeks.
So it's on the UK weather system. Perfect.
When it comes to the leveling, the max level will be 50 and it will take roughly 45 days of playing 4 to 6 hours per day for the average player to level from 1 to 50.
45 days, 4 to 6 hours a day.
So definitely more on the hardcore side of things in that regard.
What?
Unlike a lot of modern MMOs, flying mounts will be extremely rare in Ashes of Creation. That's achievable only for guild leaders that own one of the game's 5 castles, the mayor of Metropolis nodes, and through legendary limited time dragon eggs that players might obtain from a world boss. It's unlikely there will ever be more than 10 players per server with temporary access to flying, and when you consider that each server will have a population of between 8 to 10,000 players, seeing them will be really epic.
How can you predict what the size of the servers are going to be already? Anyway.
It's also worth mentioning...
I suppose you can. You get the maximum population of the server. It doesn't mean that's going to be the population, but...
that fast travel will be extremely limited in this game, as the developers want distance to matter. The only form of fast travel that will be possible is if a scientific node reaches the Metropolis stage. At this point, players can construct a building that offers fast travel only to nodes within the Metropolis's zone of influence. But that's pretty much it for my basic explanation of what Ashes of Creation is without going super in-depth on stuff.
Basic?
Next,
we've been watching it for fucking 21 minutes. Oh, we ain't finished yet.
Upcoming MMORPG, and why this game isn't just a pipe dream, rather something many people, including myself, will be testing with no NDA before the end of this year. First of all, it
I'm
goes
a believer.
saying after everything I've just explained about the game, it will be the most ambitious fantasy MMORPG ever attempted. The game will truly have something for everyone. It's not just a PvP MMO or a PvE
Nothing
MMO.
about combat.
It's a genuine
that bothers me a little
MMO
bit.
That has pretty much
all
everything.
It had was the tab targeting bollocks and that, you know.
RPG is announced and they talk about their plans when it comes to game design.
I don't know,
Frank. It's
Frank.
always vague. There's a ton of question marks on many core systems,
I need a
and
piss.
It doesn't take long before players can look at the ideas of the developers and straight up say, this is a bad idea, this won't work. New World has been a perfect example of this since the first time I tried the game in 2018 to recently when it announced its delay. When it comes to the game design of Ashes of Creation, it seems to me that almost every aspect of the game has been clearly thought out, and thanks to years of Q&As between the community and developers, we have a clear blueprint for how this game will actually play out if you care to read it on the Ashes of Creation wiki. When it comes to the core game design systems, there's nothing I'm overly concerned about. Everything seems to make sense and follow a strong design principle of risk versus reward. For me, the only real question mark I have about the game is how fun will the combat be? What does their 75% action tab hybrid combat system actually play like? I think if they can nail that and just follow the blueprint for this game until completion, it will be a guaranteed success. Ashes of Creation is primarily a privately funded MMORPG made by an MMO fan frustrated by the direction of the genre, who was extremely successful in business earlier in life. Since I first covered this project in 2017, we've seen the studio he created expand to over 100 developers, attracting people from Blizzard, Sony Online Entertainment, Daybreak Games, and more. This year especially, we've seen production for Ashes of Creation ramp up significantly, and in recent live streams we've seen gameplay sessions of many core systems working, such as the mayoral system, early hybrid combat, real-time node development, open world dungeons, a 40-man raid, the caravan PvP
it's exciting.
system,
That exciting,
professions, and the purchasing of in-node player housing. What's more impressive is the creative director's commitment to transparency, despite the project still likely being a solid 2 years from completion. Sometime this fall, we've been told that people who have access to the game's Alpha 1 test will be able to stream and make content about the game with no NDA. And when you consider that Amazon's New World still has a strict NDA, despite previously being 2 months out from its supposed release, to me shows a lot of confidence in a product. Now, all of that's not to say that Ashes of Creation hasn't had its problems or drama surrounding its development, because it certainly has. Releasing Ashes of Creation Apocalypse, the Battle Royale testing environment on Steam, caused nothing but confusion to the people that were casually following the project, and in the past the community went long periods of time without seeing any tangible gameplay due to an issue where large portions of foundation code had to be rewritten, essentially delaying the game by 1 year. But in 2020 we've really started to see Ashes of Creation come together. Almost every monthly live stream we've been shown new gameplay, we've already had players get into the early Alpha 1 client and talk about their experiences thanks to no verbal NDA, and community perception of the project as a whole has shifted from extremely skeptical to cautiously optimistic. Whilst there's still a long road ahead for Ashes of Creation, I have to say that in the 5+ years I've been a full-time MMORPG YouTuber, this is the only upcoming MMO that I've been able to look at and say to myself, if this game releases, it has a real chance of being the next truly successful MMORPG. Thanks for watching.
You're welcome. So, I mean, let's be fair. I may have missed the last 2 minutes, but I'm not going to lie. I might have seen that before. Actually, I don't think I did see it that far before. Do you want to watch an advert on Elementor? But what do you think? I mean, I think it looks fucking fantastic. I'll be honest with you. Siege time. No, I mean, in all seriousness, fuck it, props to him for that video. 35 hours or something he said like that to put it together. Could have paid someone else to do it, but like, you know, still good job. I think the game looks fucking phenomenal. If it can do what it says it's going to do. My worry is that it's not going to do what it says it's going to do, and I think the combat looked a little bit iffy, and I'm just reading what you're saying. Looks about as good as BFA does. I mean, I'm all for player housing. If WoW released player housing, if BFA released a patch tomorrow where we had proper player housing that we could customise and put all our armour sets in, instead of putting them in a fucking tab that nobody else sees, I live and die the game. Yeah, it's all going to come down to the combat. It's going to come down to the combat. It's going to come down to the raids. As I say, with the whole every server's different bollocks. Come on, we've heard that shit before anyway. You know, it's if you want someone to sit here and say all positive shit, obviously you're watching the wrong person, because that's not me. I look at stuff and I pick holes in it, and I think all of the systems are there. Let's watch another. All of the systems we're there, but it's the delivery. You know, and I mean, I fucking bring the game up all the time, but Star Wars Galaxies is fucking years old, and they had everything right except for the combat. If they re-released Star Wars Galaxies today in exactly the same state as it was in 20 years ago, it would be perfect. Literally, it would be perfect. Watch Hasmon interview with Stephen. Is it that one?